married a second time, and my husband passed away 4 years ago. And so I've had a whole myriad of experiences I've been able to learn from, if you will, in this way of how to manage money. So I started out when I was very young, growing up, and we were very middle class. We didn't have a lot of money, and so I always wanted to achieve and do more. I was very entrepreneurial in coming up with ideas. And then in my first marriage, we were always trying to make ends meet, just trying to get by, living paycheck to paycheck. And it was a very trying time, but I learned a lot about budgeting and how to pay off debt and the importance of getting out of debt to be able to have things that you want. And then in my career, I was in my mid-late 20s and really kicking ass and loving what I did. But at the same time, being very insecure and unsure of whether I fit in or whether I was, accepted in this world of people and women, especially that were older than me, that were more established. And where did I belong? Where did I fit in? And so I started investing at a very young age. Actually, back in my first job at the age of 19, I started investing, and I learned about compounding and the importance of timing and how important that is. And you can't replace income or the amount of money you put into your investments with the amount of time you have to invest. So the younger you are to start investing is so key. And so I learned that. And then being married for 14 years, in my second marriage, I did so much more investing, and I was able to use and really get creative with how I worked on my portfolio. And so my husband and I traded together, and we often made a game out of it, of my stocks and his stocks, and we would kind of joke around about who was doing better, and it was really a lot of fun. So I had the experience of also, after having lost him, what to do now, how to move forward and how to have a change. So those who know me call me the reinvention queen, because I've reinvented myself so many times through different situations in my life. So that's kind of where I've gone, and I've through this process I've obtained certifications through Dave Ramsey and Strategic Intervention and Robbins Madanes to be able to work with women and help them have the confidence. And it's not just about how to make money and how to build wealth, but it's also about mindset. And as I say that. I think women are actually, we always are kind of knocked a little bit for not being good with the numbers, or, honey, I can take care of this, don't worry about it. I'll do it. And women, we often find that we rely on others to take care of things for us, when really we're better at managing money, because we have a skill set, we have a superpower that men don't always have, and that's intuition. And so much of managing money is about intuition. And you have to make decisions, and we have a gut feel on something, we have to go with it and learn to trust that. So this is where I've developed these skills through my life experiences, and also through my certifications and working with my clients.
Beautiful. Yeah, you've dropped so many jewels in just that introduction, so many little tidbits that people can truly learn from. The one that's really standing out to me is how you and your husband actually played in the space of wealth management. And for a lot of people, managing wealth is intimidating, right? Because it's all coming back to their emotional tie of the subject, how it is that they've grown up with it or without it, what their engagement has been. And so to think about playing with it, for some people that sounds super scary, right? Like, oh my gosh, play with it. That's like gambling. I can't even afford it. And then for others, it's, ooh, I never thought about playing with it because it's just so intense and so heavy and so much. So could you walk us through a little bit of really the mindset behind playing with the wealth management and being creative?
Yeah, I think we have to take the mystery and the fear out of it. There are really 7 baby steps that I've learned and that I love. And first of all, before we have to take a step back, because really before we start investing, we have to make sure our financial affairs are in order first. First, are we even balancing our checkbook? Okay, we have to get back to basics, because a lot of us, we're not always good at that, right? We don't like to do that. It's kind of a pain. We have to know where we stand. I'm not suggesting that everyone live on a budget, and you have to. Although I've done this, and back in the day, trying to pay off debt, you have envelopes and you put your money in, and you say, okay, I'm going to devote this much money every week to each item. I'm not saying we always have to be that specific. but at least we have to know kind of where we are and how much we're spending. And so before we even think about investing, we have to think about, are we in debt? Do we have debt? And we've got to tackle that first. That is first and foremost. And also having an emergency fund. Start off with something small, at least have $1,000. But I think it's, people like Susie Orman and others say 8 months. And it sounds crazy. But now that we've been in COVID for 8 months almost now, right? Going through this, that was probably not a bad idea. So those of us who have that emergency fund and who have prepared are feeling pretty good right now. We might be starting to get a little itchy and a little nervous, but we really should have that emergency fund. And so you really want to kind of go in that order before you even think about investing, actually this way. So those are kind of the first things. So say you're in a really great place. You still have your job, you're still working, and you have some extra money. Maybe you have a 401k at work and you want to play with that. That's great, but a 401k is kind of difficult because you're putting it in asset classes. You don't have as much control over what you do. And it's the same thing if you have it with a financial advisor. But say you're doing it on your own and you have your own money and you want to put some money in the market. A lot of us have said, oh my gosh, the market's crazy right now. Prices are undervalued. Things were so much higher last year. I want to get in. So what do? You have a couple of options. You can go to a financial advisor, and what I talk with my clients in more detail, and we can elaborate on that another time, but there are different things to think about when you look at a financial advisor because there are many types. And if you want, we can go into that, but I think the main thing is you want to consider what are your fees, because even having 1% of fees can actually chip away at 10 years of your life, the amount of wealth you'll have at the end of your life. So how do we get rid of some of those fees? There are several options. One is to go with a registered investment advisor, which is a fiduciary, someone who is going to work for you on behalf of you and make sure that you are making the most money possible. They generally invest more conservatively, but that's not a bad thing. Then the other thing is let's just say if we want to play, as we were talking about, how do we play? And really playing it's somewhat risky. As with anything, playing is fun, but it always has a little bit of risk with it. As with anything that involves that is going to, the thing I suggest is finding a discount brokerage house, somewhere where there are very little or no fees, that you can go and invest yourself. And that might sound scary. Jill, how do I do that? Well, clients ask me that. How do I do that? You find a discount brokerage house. There are several. There are places like Merrill Edge. But one of my favorites I'm using right now is M1 Financial. Very good. I'm not endorsing. I'm not getting any money for this, but these are the ones that I like. And M1's great in the sense that you can kind of put smaller amounts in, and you can choose a dollar amount versus like how many stocks should I buy. And then you can choose your portfolio in a certain way. You can decide what different markets you want to be in, because the key here is diversification. The temptation is, I know we all do it. I've done it. Back in the day when my husband and I would play this game, I had at one point when I first started this journey with him, I was all in Apple. And I would brag crazily, just like so much fun. Hey, how'd you do? I'm like, well, I'm up 500% since 2 years ago. And he's like, yeah, but you're in one thing. You don't want to have all your eggs in one basket. I said, I know. And so I made a ton of money doing that. So, okay, that was lucky, and also very risky. Yes. A lot of people are doing that with things like Tesla today, or Amazon or Apple. Yes. Again, this is money that, when I say play, this is money that you can afford to lose, okay? You don't want to play with money that you need right now. If you need this money right now, this is not the thing to do.
Right.
Playing
like if you're doing your
that you have.
Yeah, like if you're doing your fund, ultimately your emergency fund, you definitely don't want to tap into your emergency fund in order for you to play. You want to keep that separate. And I actually really love what I believe actually you introduced me to this, which is actually playing with the concept of investing. So it's not actually putting any physical dollars to it, but it's through the gaming space of investment and what that looks like, and really just starting to get the flow of what that's like. So if you could actually speak to that.
That is a lot of fun. I'm glad you brought that up. The marketwatch.com has a really cool feature. They have a thing called virtual trading, or virtual platform. And it's basically where you set up a game, and you can set up with your friends, or you can do it with yourself. It's not a big deal, but it's kind of fun to play with others because you can see what they do. So basically, you set up the game and you say, okay, I want to start where everyone has $1 million or whatever number you want, and then you set different terms and conditions of what you want to do with the game, and then you start to invest and you can play in this. And I actually set this up with a lot of us, a lot of our friends. And my friends that I had that I said, why don't we play this game? And we all got invited, and we were able to track. I did this back, I think, in March or April, because I was kind of pulling out of the market. I was a little nervous about it. So I said, let me just see what would happen if. And I opened up actually 3 different accounts with different email addresses I had. I did one where I kind of did a Ray Dalio portfolio, where it's the 5 asset classes, and I can go into more of that later. I think that's a really great strategy for those who don't know what to do. It's just to buy ETFs in short term and long term, and go that route. And there's a split up of the pie, so it's really well diversified. And then I took what I would call those COVID stocks, as I'm calling them. And at the time, it was more things like, biotech and the pharmaceutical stocks that were investing in things like the viruses. And then the third thing I looked at was like my usual portfolio, or things that I'm calling the blue chips of today, the ones that are so solid, it seems like, at least right now. And that's the apples, what they call the FANG stocks. The FANG is FAANG. And sometimes you'll hear MFANG. And FANG is Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google. And the M is Microsoft. So, and I've thrown Tesla in there sometimes too, but I think that's a little more risky. But I still love Tesla. It's just, that's a little bit more volatile. So you kind of play with this, and you can kind of get a feel for how the market works before you actually get in. So I'd encourage everyone to try that. That's a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, I actually really love everything about that space for a new investor, or for someone who's really just pretty much managing their finances, but not managing wealth, right? And they're trying to figure out how to manage wealth. And I guess before we get any deeper into that space, how would you define wealth?
Wealth is 3 things to me, because a lot of times people think wealth is how much money you have. And really, we have to take a step back, because, believe it or not, there are billionaires out there that are absolutely miserable. So why is that? If wealth is only about how much money you have, that doesn't hold true. So really, it's part of it's being grateful. It's about being grateful for what we have. And it's not just money. It's, are we healthy? Our spiritual body, our mental state, our mindset, it's everything. It's all encompassing. Having wealth and being wealthy, you could have nothing in the bank and be wealthy. Think about that for a minute. You can be wealthy and have absolutely zero in the bank. So it's the ability to be grateful for what you have. Is it family? Is it your connections? Just there's so much to wealth. I think that's what makes it so amazing. And it's money is just one part of it.
Yeah, and I love that you described it that way. Yesterday, I gave everyone a preview Thursday on my Instagram page. And within that preview Thursday, I spoke about what wealth truly encompasses. I think most people miss the fact that it's a holistic element versus it only having the tool of money and finances. And most people really just look at wealth as, well, wealth is money and finances. And it's actually just a tool. It's a portion of it. But the holistic element of it is the bigger picture. It has all the elements, as a part of who you are, where you're living, how healthy is your mind and your heart space when it comes to your mentality, your emotions, when it comes to your engagement, when it comes to your relationships. Like, it's really taking a look at all of those spaces, measuring them out, and being able to find that healthy space in there, and then utilizing the tool of finances and dollars to go ahead and raise the stakes.
That's so true. I love that.
Yeah. So I love the description. I think a great place for us to go for the viewers is really to start to talk about, what does it look like in the challenges of wealth management? And what has your journey been in that space?
The challenges, I'm going to go into relationships. And I know this isn't about relationships per se, but I think it does have a lot to do with it. And as I think you and I have talked in the past, I had this thing that I say that women who have an understanding and have an understanding of their finances and their wealth make better decisions about their personal relationships. Think about that a second, because it's women who understand their money and where they stand make better decisions about their personal relationships. And so over the years, I've observed myself, especially in these different moments of trial, where I've lost my husband, or I had a divorce, or going on my own the first time, or things like that, a career change. Whenever we were faced with a situation, perhaps right now, a lot of times women, not always, but some of us, I know I have, I'll say for sure, we tend to say, I just want a man to come and rescue me. Come rescue me, come fix this. And, a lot of times at the end of the day, people stay in marriages. They choose people to be in their lives based on that. We always, as a little girl, we're always talking to each other. It's like, we want the wealthy guy. We want the rich guy, right? We want the rich guy. Well, why is that? And so it's not that we don't want to be with a man, but wouldn't it be wonderful to understand where we stand financially, and then make that choice about that relationship totally intact, and choosing someone because we want to be with them, because there's passion, because there's connection and love, and not because of feeling a need or a lacking or an insecurity. And so for me, that's been the journey, is really understanding that, the next time around for myself is I want to be able to choose and be confident enough that I know where I stand, so that person who comes along, it's not contingent upon where I am and what my needs are or what I lack. And so I really believe, and I spend a lot of time with my clients on this, is helping them. This is all 80% of the time. It's not the strategy or the tools, but it's the mindset, and it's the understanding and having the confidence of, what, I'm okay. I could have a ton of debt, but boy, do I know, and I have a plan of how to get out. If we know we can get it done. And even in those moments when we're scared and we're like, shit, I can't do this. I feel like I'm never going to get there. Who are my friends? Where are my social circles? Who are people I can call right now that I can say, I'm scared. I need some support, emotional support. And don't just run to the guy. It's run to the guy and be with the guy because you are solid and you're confident. Even when you need some emotional support, it's one thing, but that just taking the easy way out sometimes that's the fear kicking in. And so that's, I think, is so key. And I really hope more women get that message, is you can do it. You got this, girl. Like, go for it and stand on your own 2 feet.
I love the fact that we went down this avenue, for the simple fact it makes me think of Priyanka Chopra Jonas's statement. She is an actress, and her statement was that she became the CEO that her mother always wanted her to marry. And
I love that.
I adore that statement, because it really embodies everything you're talking about right now, as to what is it exactly are you connecting to or with when it comes to the partner that you seek or that you have. I know a lot of people are going through major emotional turmoil right now. And so one of the big things, which is why I'm loving the fact that you brought relationship into this conversation, is that a lot of people are getting divided right now. A lot of people are breaking up, separating, going apart, really starting to see whether or not this is a real connection or not, or what did we connect on. And so they're seeing some of this superficial materialistic connection that they've had versus the in-depth wealth space of connection and what that means. And so I want to speak to some of the ladies, or even some of the gentlemen out there, who are awakening to this, right? They're really just now starting to see, like, wait a second, my past relationships, including this one, or including this one that I just got out of, has been like a tobacco, right? Like, it's been me connecting to just this tool versus a real connection in this person. So the ways in which an individual would begin to evaluate that space, like what would you say are some of the key signs that you're connected to this individual for the wrong things?
There's something that is really common that's coming out a lot more now, is something called financial abuse. And it's just a harsh word or phrase, but really it's a matter of feeling like you're trapped. Are you making decisions to stay? Are your first questions, let me back up, is your first question you ask yourself, how am I going to live on my own? Are you thinking about money? Are you worried about, are you going to still be in the same social circle after the breakup? If something changes, I see this a lot. I have girlfriends who've been with one who's been with a guy for years, and the biggest fear she has is makes money, but it's, if we break up, I will lose all of his friends.
Oof.
I will lose that social class. I will lose that situation, and that's losing yourself.
Yes.
So it has nothing to do with money, but isn't that wealth? Or lack thereof?
Lack thereof.
And so it's where are we? What are we needing from that person? What is it that we don't have in ourselves that we are seeking, or we feel like we're getting from that person? It's really when we're always thinking about what that person's giving us and not what we're giving them or contributing to them. Those are usually where the disconnects are, because people fail us, and the only way we can be truly satisfied in a relationship is to contribute and to give, with not expecting nothing in return. And I know that's a big thing to say, and it's hard to swallow, but it's really true. That's where the true satisfaction comes. It's not a checks and balances. Well, I got this, I gave this, so I'm expecting this. And so whenever we're seeing that or we're feeling that, it's the fear of, how am I going to survive? Then create a plan. If you really truly believe you need to be out of a relationship that you're in, create a plan. How am I going to get out of this? What do I need to survive? How am I going to do this? And that's one thing, but really ask yourself, and you need to know this because you're going to repeat it if you don't get this right this time. Look at it again as, why am I doing this? What do I need to change for next time? And get on your own 2 feet, because money is a spiritual game, and wealth is a spiritual game. And when we don't deal with this, it just shows back up again in the next relationship.
Every time. It's that horrible repetitive factor of really ultimately not paying attention to your own life and your own voice, and noting that space. So I want to walk through, I guess we still didn't get to major challenges for you within your journey in managing this space of wealth management, and what that may look like to actually come through that challenge.
Yeah, I would say, I guess there were times when I'm thinking back to maybe being younger and overextending myself. And what were the challenges to just overspending? I did a lot of overspending. Credit cards. It's so easy to get credit cards. And those are challenges that took me a lot of time to get over and to get through that. And I had this thing with my first husband. We would call it rolling quarters for gas. Where you're looking around the house, and this was a long time ago. But looking around the house for change, and you put it in one of those little quarter rolls. And when you have $10, you have a full thing of quarters, you have $10, so you can go fill up the tank. That was, like I said, a long time ago. But when you're outbound looking for change and you're trying to find a way to pay, I dealt with that, and I learned how to budget, and I learned how to say, okay, don't overextend myself. My late husband used to always say, live below your means. And it couldn't be more important than today, because when all of us are getting we have no income coming in, or we have very little, or maybe our income's been cut in half, if we even have income right now, our job. And so for me, it was just learning to live below my means and not overspending and not using credit. I have no debt, and I used to have a ton of debt. I used to live on that. And the outcome at the end was just, I was always I remember also like having no credit left, like going so far as to have no credit card debt. You're maxed out on everything. I remember using the Texaco card to go to the Texaco, because the only card I had left that had credit on it. And I went to the Texaco gas station, and I would buy toilet paper at the gas station, because that's the only thing, just insane. So my trials in getting through it is learning how to live below my means. And I hope that answers kind of your question a little bit, but it was just really a difficult feeling of just always feeling like I had to have what everybody else had. And I think a lot of us today, if we came from families that our school was paid for by our parents, and we always had kind of what we needed, we instantly think that we need to be at that state that they were at, like we need to be at that lifestyle, and that if we're not, we're failing. In our 20s, we're not going to be where our parents are. and where the lifestyle they've created for us immediately. It's okay to scrape and save, and that's what I did. I remember that, just like I said, making those mistakes, getting into debt, having to figure out a way to pay it off, and then investing and making mistakes in the stock market. Even recently pulling out of the stock market. When the market started to come back, that was a mistake. You got to hang in there. I've done that. I've made bad decisions, but boy, we learn from them. And I think that's the main thing: is whenever we make mistakes, note it. Did I make a bad choice in a relationship? Note it and say, what can I do differently? And that's what I try to do.
I love you. Again, so many jewels that you dropped in just that little piece, because when it comes to really looking at living below your means, I love that you brought that up as a tool. Because what we're dealing with now with this quarantine state and this lack or this social distancing, it has really brought to light how much many people have been living way above their means and really just putting themselves out there for this show, to be Instagram worthy and to go ahead and put on the perfect picture in Facebook and in whatever, area that they're in, to present this lifestyle and being of who they are, where it's really like penny pinching in how they eat and penny pinching in, maintaining their health, because they have this image that they need to uphold, but they can't afford to take care of themselves and manage their own health and wealth in that space, right? Mm-hmm. So I love what you're identifying there. And I think for a lot of people, it may not even be something that they can grasp what that means, right? To live below your means. It may be a term that they're hearing for the first time.
Okay, it's basically very simple. It's spending less than you make. Yep. That's what living below your means. It's spending less than you make. If you make $3,000 a month, don't spend $3,000 a month. Don't go into debt. If you see something you really think you want to have, credit card, don't use it unless you can pay it off in full that month. I am a big believer in paying your cards off in full. I have my credit cards all set up, pay in full automatically every month, and I know what I've spent and I know what's in my account. And if I can't do that, I don't buy it. And, the other thing, there's a great little tip we can do with this when we get tempted, because Amazon's so much fun. We're all at home and we're shopping and we're looking at Etsy and we're looking at all these things, right? It's so much fun because we have time and we're thinking we need a new TV or we need another light or we need a new camera for our, Instagram videos. And go on there. When you start looking, put it in the cart. Put everything you want in the cart, everything. And then don't do anything. Wait till tomorrow. Sleep on it. And then look at it again. Maybe even before you do that, look at your bank account and see how much money you have. And even more fun than that, open your wallet and see how much cash is in your wallet. Because when we look at cash, we go, oh, shit. Okay. Because that's reality. Cards are plastic. They're easy. It's like, and then, auto pay, you put your finger on the thing with some of the computers today and you buy and you're done. Yeah, that's simple. But looking at the cash in your wallet, how much do I have? Do I really need that right now? Or is there a cheaper version? And sometimes it's like, what can I sell? If you're like me and I have 50 old phones, it's like, can I sell some of these phones before I buy a new one? Just looking for, I'm not too proud to say, hey, you know what? I need to get rid of some of this stuff. I'm a tech junkie. I have tools and technology everywhere, but it's like, what do I need to get rid of? What can I sell? What can I donate to someone? Maybe a woman, someone who needs help, who's getting started. They might need a phone. There are ways to do these things. And so just living below your means and decide, taking a step back before you make that purchase.
And let's take a little walk down the path of contribution and donation, because a lot of people don't look at that as a part of wealth management, but it is.
Absolutely.
It's ensuring that you are actually getting rid of access and making space for something new. So if you could walk down that path a little bit and how important it is in contribution and donation.
Wow, I think that is such a great point. I'm glad you brought it up. It's building wealth and having wealth is only as exciting as those you share it with. If I lived on a deserted island and I had $10 billion, how much fun would that be? not very much fun, but really the joy, the real joy and satisfaction comes from sharing with others. And it could be sharing with our family and friends. But even more importantly, knowing that you're giving a little bit back or a lot back to others and to doing something, looking around your house, like I said, with things that you have that you're not using. Who could, I always have this guilt, feeling of like, before I give something away, someone says, oh, just throw that away. I'm like, no, who could use this? Because if I didn't use it, I kind of had that little bit of guilt, like I didn't use it. But then I feel a little bit better when I give it away. Whatever motivation you have or you need, but it's contributing to others. It doesn't take a lot, and it's so satisfying. Christmas, isn't it more fun to watch your parents when you're a kid open the gift you gave them? Sometimes, maybe not as a kid, but it's always more fun to watch the other person open the gift than it is to get one.
Yeah.
And so really that gift, that just makes our soul, that just keeps us going. It's all the mindset and the entire thing that keeps our state and us are pure and solid. And this is part of it. It has to be giving back.
Indeed. And let's stay within that space a little longer. So like Marie, I forget what her last name is, but she's like this famous organizer from Japan. Do you know who I'm referencing?
Yeah, Marie Kondo.
Marie Kondo. So one of the key things that she walks through, and even just coming into a space of contributing from your access by beginning with your closet, right? Like just starting with your closet. And when you do that, to actually appreciate the items for what it is that they've brought to your life, the experiences that they gifted you in you wearing that article of clothing or those shoes or that jewelry, and then being able to pass that off to someone as a blessing because it blessed you.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
I love that process. And I really want to gift that to everyone and to everyone viewing, that when it comes to this space of contributing and donating, really start to look at it as just like a physical article of clothing. So even if you are donating funds to an organization, to a charity, that this is money you've earned. So if you look at it as a physical commodity, a physical tool, that you're seeing how it's served you and how you've earned it and what it's brought into your life and how it's served your whole state of wealth and health. And now you look at it as, now I pass that on to someone else who's either in the same need of where I've been at the time in which it came into my life, or they're in greater need, and therefore it will bless them even more abundantly than it did for me.
I love that. I love that. There's such a great feeling, isn't there? I am, like I said, notorious about giving away things like clothes or just anything like that to friends. And, there's this, and even when my husband died, just giving all of his clothes or his ties. And there's the joy that I see when I see a friend of ours, a man who wears one, sometimes he'll have one of my husband's ties on, and I'll see him and I'm like, oh, and it brings joy to me to see that he's using that tie, that didn't just go in the trash, that actually is being reused again and still carries on. And that's actually like investing, if you think about it, isn't it? It's like that investment keeps going. It's like a legacy. It's sort of going on and on and on. It's being used. And if it's almost considered, it was like it adds value or increases in value every time it's worn. So if that's the case, every time it's worn, it's gaining more and more value. And that's really what it is. So how about maximizing our value and our goods and things that we donate, we contribute to? And
I love
really
that.
beautiful.
Yeah, I like right now you're triggering other areas in me and just all the jewels you're dropping, because just the fact of looking at it as a growing investment, right? And looking at it as a vintage article that gains greater value in its aging, that even in what you're doing, in what you're giving, when you give to a charitable organization and someone in need, that what you're doing is investing in a space that can multiply what it is that you've provided. And I love that, because that in and of itself should be an area where people are looking at managing your wealth, right?
Definitely, for sure, for sure. And I think it's such a great thing. It is. It's a bad investment is something that maybe we bought that never got used. Maybe it's a dress in our closet still has a tag on. That was probably a poor investment versus something that we bought 20 years ago and we still wear it every week. And then it gets to maybe we lose weight and we need to give it away because it doesn't fit us anymore. And we give it away and someone else wears it for another 10 years. Who knows, right? That was a good investment.
Exactly.
So for sure, I think we want to maximize these things that we have in our lives, and how can we get the most for them, even if it's not for us, it's for other people. So it's less money that they have to spend to buy something, and so we've given value to them. We've actually given them something, so it's really valuable. I was at some point I'd like to address the things about career and also things like steps. I think there's some steps that people can take if you want to get into that too.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go ahead and transition. I was simply looking to see if there's anything going on within the chat for those of you who are watching. If there are any questions that you may have for Jill or for myself, please feel free to type them in the chat. I am utilizing another screen on the side that I am doing my best to pay attention to since I couldn't get it to work here. And I will be able to go ahead and share those questions with Jill. So type away if there's anything you're curious about. No question is off the table. Feel free to ask. All right, Jill, please take us through.
Yeah, I was thinking we were talking the other day, and we did go into how we measure wealth and what that's about, and it's about freedom and happiness and being grateful for everything that we have, and I think the whole key is that it's really that key takeaway, that nugget is great gratitude every day. And we talked about how do we define wealth, and that's like mindset, three things: mindset, your emotions, and the tools. But the tools are really the last part. We have to kind of use our emotions and our intuition and having the right mindset in place of what our thoughts are about money. And I think the thing everybody wants to know right now is, what can you do now? What can you do now? No matter where we are, we've had time to think about, reassessing our lives, whether we still have a job or we're out of a job, or we've had time to think about, wait, am I really doing what I want to be doing with my life? I mean, I'm sure, Patricia, we're all thinking that, right?
Yes.
Is, kind of, could I improve in the way I'm doing what I'm doing? And so we've had some time to reflect. And I think the first thing is if we're not doing it, there are three things: is really taking care of you, taking care of yourself first, your mental, spiritual, and emotional state. Strategy is important, but if you don't have that taking care of yourself first, you can't execute your strategy. It will never work. We need to put, like in the airplane, we need to put our mask on ourselves before we can assist others. So make sure that you are in the state, that you have your mental, spiritual, and emotional state in order. That could be everything from practicing a regular ritual, morning routine. It could be yoga, any kind of thing that makes you happy, running. Just get in a regular situation where you have some morning rituals and talk to yourself. How are you talking to yourself? What are you saying? Are you negative with yourself? Are you hard on yourself? Are you building yourself up? Your social circles, who are you socializing with? Get around great people that are building you up and inspiring you. That is so key, so key. And the next thing is that's taking care of you is one. Number two is investing. We talked about investing, and I normally would make that the third thing, but I know that's so key. And we did go into some things about that, which is, it's really reinventing yourself, and that you can't start investing unless you have money coming in or you already have extra money. So number one, make sure you're out of debt. Make sure you have an emergency fund. Have those things in place before you start investing. I know it's tempting right now to want to invest because that the market looks like there's deep discounts, okay, but just be patient because you need to make sure you have the money to do so. And then where do you go? Discount brokerage houses. If you don't know what you're doing, you can always go into discount brokerage house, find one of these and invest in some ETFs, some exchange traded funds. And we can talk about that. I'll have some articles I can send to your audience about that if they want more information there on how to do that. And then the third thing is career choices, new career choices. We're in transition. Maybe we've lost our jobs. You're reassessing your lives, as I said. What are some things I can do now? And the big thing is I think it's our superpower. What is our superpower? What is it that what's your one special gift? Something that's unique to you that only you can do. So I always ask my clients, I say, list 3 things that make you stand out from others. List things where do you stand out? Where are you different? What do your friends say about you that you're really unique in? And then it's like 3 specific skills that you've developed that make you successful at what you do, that what you've done or what you do. And then, like I would say, you kind of look at your things in business. What have you done in your personal life that make you happiest? I think you really have to look at, where am I truly happy? Is it playing tennis? Is it writing? Is it painting? And I guess when we're going at career choices, why am I talking about all this, Jill? Why are you talking about this? Because I think we have to get creative. Today, the world's our oyster. We can look at it 2 ways. We can look like we got a wrong deal through this whole thing of being at home. Or we can say, wow, what an opportunity to create and to come up with something new.
Indeed.
So we have an opportunity to hit the reset button and really look at the things that we've always wanted to do and reinvent ourselves. So I think that's just so much fun. And I think where I really discovered how much I love money. I love money and wealth, money in the sense, not spending the money, but numbers. And I'm always in Excel. I put in everything in the Excel spreadsheet. And, I'm good with money. I'm good with numbers. And we have to tell ourselves that as women. I love money. I love numbers. I love numbers. And, and just start using that to our advantage. And then it's also like, again, going back to what your special gift is knowing what is it you really love to do. How can you make a business out of that? How can you make a career, a side hustle? And that's what I really help my clients work on, is finding that side hustle that really is unique to you, that you're going to love doing. And even it could be a full-time business, but having the courage and the strength and the confidence, I guess, to be able to move forward with that. Because as women, we always doubt ourselves and our ability to do something new.
For sure. I love those tools. Those are fantastic, especially when you're really just trying to do a quick assessment of where you are. And I'll add this little tidbit before I go to a question that we just received. And it's the understanding that even stepping into that space, that self-assessment of yourself, take a little time to play, take a little time to dream, right? Like, identify what your life would look like if you are debt-free and money wasn't an issue. What does your life look like? And it's not what does your life look like to everyone else. It's what does your life look like to you? What are the things that bring you joy, like instantly bring you joy, make you happy, make you filled to the brim of who you are, because everything is kind of set to the state and stage of where you feel balanced, right? And really just looking at that, creating a picture from there, and then do your self-assessment. The emotion there is different.
I love that. That's such a great point. You really have to be in that right state to be able to start asking yourself those questions, for sure. Well said.
For sure. So we have a question from Maggie Brennan. She says, "Hi, ladies. What I always struggle with is how much money do you invest in a new business if you don't know how much money you will make as a profit? How do you decide how much of your savings to spend?" Great question.
That is a great question. And I think there's not necessarily a hard and fast rule there. I think we have to look at our risk tolerance. Like, what is it that we're willing to risk? The first step is, again, I'm going to play with what you said earlier, is really taking that moment to get in our heart and just, meditate or sit and think about it. And really, if we're making decisions out of fear or out of worry or anxiety, we're going to make the wrong decision. We really have to come in a space when we're just in a relaxed state and feeling like we're grateful for what we have, and that just really calm state before we make those decisions. It's what I do, by the way. It's my secret weapon with investing and choosing stocks, but I'll go into that another time. But is that how much are you willing to lose? Are you willing to risk it? Don't put money in your savings that you can't afford to lose.
Oh,
What are some creative ways that you can take to find other alternatives? It's very similar to how do we put things in the Amazon cart I said earlier. If we make a quick decision, is there go look at a car and we see a new car and we go on the lot and the guy goes, this is a great car, but I have this one, it's better. It's only $2,000 more, but it has all these other features. And we go, oh, that looks better. It's only 2,000, right? No. You have to say to yourself, do I really need that? And is there a cheaper place, a better price I can find? Is there a better way to get a car without buying this one at this price? And do I need a car, or are there better options to get where I want to go? So if this is all we have and we're looking at our savings, what is the savings? I don't have all the information. So I'm wondering, is it invested? If it's invested in an IRA in your retirement, don't touch it. If it's just cash in the bank and you already are investing, then you could do that. But I'd say you really want to look at your comfort level. There's not really a hard and fast rule like 20%. I'd love to give you that number. I mean, I think we would all love that number, but it's unique to every individual.
Yeah, I love that breakout. And even coming down to thinking about it on a percentage, Maggie, if you were to look at it, if you were to even try the 80-20 rule, right? Like if you were to even go ahead and do that, do it in a playful space. Don't do it in an actualization space, meaning don't go ahead and take 20% and then, try it out and see what happens. Go ahead and do the creative writing, journaling of what 20% looks like. See where that investment goes. What kind of output do you believe 20% investment would make within that business? What exactly, when you look at the outcome, reverse engineer it, right? So you throw that 20%, you look at the outcome, you're like, this is what I need this to do. And then reverse engineer it. Look at that outcome and go, okay, but what needs to happen in order for that outcome to happen? And is this 20% really going to meet that need? And when you start to break that down, then you can look at what are my current expenses, the things that I know I have to live off of, to Joe's point, the things that I know that I for sure need to manage today, the things that I have invested towards my future. And then when it comes to this 20% that I'm trying to play with, is it going to make or break me? So those are the things that you should really start to really evaluate. So Maggie wrote back to us. She says, I love the idea of really thinking, considering, meditating about it first before spending anything. Reverse engineering is also a great idea. Awesome, Maggie. So
Maggie, Patricia's amazing. She's a strong businesswoman. She's a great person to ask for that. That's fantastic. I love your advice. It's great.
Yeah, it's we all learn and grow from each other and connect with each other, which is the beauty of this space. And that's why I love actually stepping into these journeys. Maggie, thank you so very much for asking the question. Yeah, she's saying all good points. Thank you. By the way, yes, it would be just cash savings, not investments.
Good.
Awesome.
Awesome.
I don't know if you wanted to speak any more to that.
That was it. But to piggyback on that, 20% or whatever the number is sometimes we think, is even 20% going to do the job? Mm-hmm. If it's going to take all or more, mm-hmm. Then is it worth it at all? Don't put 20% in just to test it, because you might just lose 20%. Like I think Patricia had a great point, and it's really cool, is that, is that even going to put a drop in the bucket? Mm-hmm. So I love the reverse engineering way of pointing it out, is that, see, is that even going to make a difference? Mm-hmm. And if it's not, then, what are some other ways that you can do what you need to do with spending as little as possible?
For sure.
Other options, yeah.
Our pleasure, Maggie. She says thank you again. So our pleasure. So when it comes to the EFT, I know that was something that you wanted to touch on before we drop off, because we're coming close to the hour. So please.
Oh, the exchange traded fund, ETFs?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say basically what I would look at is there are several options. Again, if we don't know where to go with this right now, the temptation is to go and just buy certain stocks, and we say, okay, I want to buy Amazon, I want to buy Apple, and there are other options too. There are a lot of ETFs you can look at that are what an ETF is a fund. Like there are tons of them that are basically of the S&P 500, that is all the stocks across the board in the S&P 500. So you're basically you're really diversifying yourself, across everything.
What
So
does ETF stand for?
Exchange traded fund. So an exchange traded fund. And so it's basically like a big, pot full of all these stocks. So it could be airline stocks, it's S&P, it could be a lot of different stocks. And so it's in all different, markets in different areas, right? So it could be some technology, it could be this, it could be that, depending on what ETF you are in. There are ETF technology ETFs. There are REITs, real estate investment trusts. There are different types of ETFs. And so you're basically diversifying yourself. And that's a safe way to go for a new investor who doesn't know where to go. And then going to a discount brokerage house, finding a way like an M1 Financial or Merrill Edge or different things like that. And you can for different places like that where you don't have to pay a fee or percentage of every investment that you make or on your, I should say more on your I can't think of the word, your revenue, your returns. And so you can do that. So those are the two things. ETFs are great. If you feel like you just want to play a little bit and say you have a lot of money and you don't care and you want to just try this out, first of all, go to that virtual game on marketwatch.com, and there's a virtual investing game that you can play with your friends and other people, and you can invite people, set up your own game with your email address. It's completely free, and you can set the terms of what you want to do and just try that first before you jump in. That might get you a little bit more comfortable with seeing how to do it and how it works. But I would hesitate to, one other thing I know I want to mention really quickly is if you are in the market now and you're worried markets have been down lately in the past several days, I have a lot of different, I have a spreadsheet that I use that has all these different codings and things that I track my stocks, and it's always funny little jokes. But one of the things I always say is hold your breath, put your nose on your nose, and we're going down. It's like you're going under, we're holding our breath, So it's like sometimes we're in that space. So you just got to hold on and hold your breath.
Yeah.
Don't sell. Don't panic. Do not ever make a decision financially based on fear and anxiety and worry and feelings of scarcity. Get in your heart. Whenever I sit there and make a decision to buy or sell, I sit back, and this is every financial advisor is going to look at me like she's full of shit because she doesn't know what she's saying. This is how I do it. Is I close my eyes and I sit, and if I'm not in the right space, I get up, I move around, I come back to it later, and I sit there and I just go like this, and I think, okay. And I literally, everybody's gonna laugh, but I get goosebumps when I get this feeling of warmth, and I get this feeling when I know I'm supposed to make a move. I don't know if it's always right or wrong. It's not. I can't give you a chart and tell you how to time the trade. I'm not writing a book on how to time the trade. But that's kind of what I do. It's really get in my space and say, is this right? And then I'll look at the analyst estimates. I'll look at different things and decide. But this is how I do it. It's just really knowing and being in that space of don't panic. Don't sell because everything's down. It's the worst time to do it. Stay in the market. Number one, stay in the market through the downside. If you don't need the money right now, this is your retirement money and you're in your 20s and 30s, don't touch it. Stay in the market. It will come back.
Yeah, what I honor about that, what you just walked through and how you actually check in with yourself and your intuition, is that you are actually honoring your feminine side, right? Because for we women, feminine energy, that feminine space, we are high in intuition. And intuition is the main driver within feminine energy. And what I appreciate about what you're stating is that each individual has their unique gifts and their unique way of navigating through life. So to try to identify one pigeonholed way of dealing with anything in life is to neglect yourself. So you have to figure out what is truly best for you. You have to know what your voice is, your inner voice is, what it is that you deem as a balance for yourself. So it's not a matter of taking what Jill is stating and going, oh, I got to go all in on my intuition, because that may not be your gift. It may not be your answer. Your intuition may be off. You may not have found your place of balance in that space. And it also may not be, oh, well, I need to, go and try to learn as much as I can, put a lot of head knowledge into it and work out all the numbers, because stock market doesn't work that way. So that may be off as well. So it's really trying to come to a place of what is your inner voice and your true answer, and whatever that is, move forward in that and know that everything. I love the fact that you brought up the volatility of the stock market and what's going on in that space and investment, because we all saw, for those of us who are adults right now, we all seen what happened in 2007 and 2008, right? With really the big crash, and so many people, baby boomers got out of the market at that time. And yet it was the perfect time to stay in the market, because then it was 10 years of a giant major investment in that space. And whoever stayed, it's quite abundant right now in regards to that retirement fund and, whatever investments that they did make. So if you're in the market, stick it through. If anything, do like what I was just showing earlier. Just put a blindfold on yourself, not even look at it. Don't pay attention to it. Let it go. And if you're just getting into it, you've got some great options. Like, there are some great things to go ahead and invest in right now and make your portfolio a pretty beautiful one. So those are pretty much the highlights that I wanted to make. I don't know if you wanted to make a final highlight in really building wealth.
Really well, Patricia. It's been such a pleasure talking to your audience and to you today. I just think it's really have the passion, have the confidence. That's the main thing, is really think from your heart, use your intuition. It's our gift. It's our superpower that we have as women, and men too. Men, you don't always have to think from our head. We have so many ways that's so easy to just go with our head and think, logically. And there's so much more to it than that. And be confident and know that you're going to make the right decision, even when you make the wrong decision. It's having the courage to get back up and do it again.
Indeed. Jill Collins, everyone. Thank you so very much for allowing us to walk this journey of self-mastery with you in wealth management. You guys, this has been a true pleasure. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties in the beginning. We will have it corrected by next week, because next week I'm actually going to just jump on earlier. I was so not thinking that an software update would throw this system off, but it did. Nonetheless, thank you again. We will see you next Friday for a journey in self-mastery, where we will take another journey. And I will share with you the details of that journey later on today, or this weekend actually. But we will go ahead and make a new journey next week. So every Friday here at 8:30 in the morning, we have some journeys in self-mastery. Jill, please feel free to come back again and share any
thank you. My pleasure.
Further elements of your journey with us. Thank you guys, and have a beautiful Friday, but an even greater weekend. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.